Determine compliance and other requirements. Compliance means conforming to a rule, such as a specification, policy, standard, or law. Compliance is the act of conforming to or adhering to rules, policies, regulations, standards, or requirements. An organization must comply with governmental laws, regulations, and rules. The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard is an information security standard for organizations that handle branded credit cards from the major card schemes. The PCI Standard is mandated by the card brands and administered by the Payment Card Industry Security Standards Council. A contract is an agreement between parties requiring them to perform in some way and the terms of performance. Contractual compliance and other requirements are required by legal contract between private parties. Law is a system of rules that state what we can and cannot do. These rules are put together to ensure that everyone's rights are protected so that we can live freely and peacefully. Legal system refers to a procedure or process for interpreting and enforcing the law. It elaborates the rights and responsibilities in a variety of ways. Security professionals must understand the different legal systems that are used throughout the world and the components that make up the systems. Legal standards are set by courts and decisions that set precedent. That is, the judgments a court has made previously become the standard of acceptable practice for further behavior. Compliance with legal requirements is the adherence by the organization to the laws, standards, or specifications of the sector in which it operates. Industry standards are a set of criteria within an industry relating to the standard functioning and carrying out of operations in their respective fields of protection. For example, in the field of IT society, IC² is a standard. Regulations are mandates set by government bodies. Regulations can be created by legislative or administrative action. Privacy is freedom from being observed, monitored, or examined without consent or knowledge. Legislative and regulatory compliance in regard to privacy are the Health Insurance, Portability, and Accountability Act, the Sarbanes Oxley Act of 2002, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and the Gramm Leach Bliley Act, as well as European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. Gramm Leach Bliley Act of 1999 GLBA affects all financial institutions, including banks, loan companies, insurance companies, investment companies, and credit card providers. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1986 CFAA affects any initiatives that might engage in hacking or protected computers as defined in the Act. Federal Privacy Act of 1974 affects any computer that contains records used by a federal agency. Federal Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 FISA affects law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986 (ECPA) affects law enforcement and intelligence agencies. The United States Federal Sentencing Guidelines of 1991 affects individuals and organizations convicted of felonies and serious misdemeanors. Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act of 1994 requires telecommunications carriers and manufacturers of telecommunications equipment to modify and design their equipment, facilities, and services to ensure that they have built-in surveillance capabilities. Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act affects how private sector organizations collect, use, and disclose personal information in the course of commercial business in Canada. Basel II affects financial institutions. It addresses minimum capital requirements, supervisory review, and market discipline. Federal Information Security Management Act of 2002, FISMA affects every federal agency. It requires the federal agencies to develop, document, and implement an agency-wide information security program. The Economic Espionage Act of 1996 Congress dealing with a wide range of issues including industrial espionage. The USA Patriot Act of 2001 affects law enforcement and intelligence agencies in the United States. Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act of 2010 affects healthcare and educational organizations. This act increased some of the security measures that must be taken to protect healthcare information. Use of Freedom Act of 2015 reauthorizes parts of the US Patriot Act but imposes some new limits on bulk data collection of Americans, phone records, and Internet metadata.